woman after marriage becomes a wife. For 9 long months she carries a new life. Islam legislates equality, my sisters and brothers. Don't forget paradise lies at the feet of your mothers.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to our new series of episode called The Art of Divorce. As we know, in Islam, marriage is a sacred contract that is taken between a man and a woman, and Islam promotes a healthy marriage and a healthy environment in the home. However, it also legislates and gives the spouses the possibility and the probability of separating. And I'm sure that you've been looking at many Islamic programs before, and you've seen them talking about saving and preserving the marriage. However, today we'll be taking a different approach, and that approach is to talk about the art of divorce and how do we separate in Islam. And to talk more about this topic, we have all the way from the UK, Sheikh Haytham Al-Haddad, who is a member of the Islamic Sharia Council, and he's also from the director of the Muslim Research and Development Foundation. He's been living in the UK for a number of years and also have been presenting the program, the very famous program, Living in the West. He's also completed his PhD in the West, in one of the universities there, on the fiqh of Muslim minorities. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh, and welcome to the program.
Wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome, Brother Fuad.
Jazakallah khair for being with us today. Even when I was given the topic, the art of divorce, I was thinking, why are we talking about a divorce when Islam, I'm sure many of the viewers would agree with me, when Islam is a religion that promotes a healthy relationship between a man and woman after marriage?
Yes. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salamu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. I'm very glad that we are going through this discussion, because there is a huge problem within the Muslim community wherever you go.
Mm-hmm.
If we just look to simple statistics regarding divorce and marriage breakdown in Muslim countries as well as non-Muslim countries, we will find without a shadow of a doubt that it is a huge problem.
Yes.
Now, many people focus, as you said, on how to make the marriage successful and how to live in harmony. But in many cases, people differ. The spouses differ.
Mm-hmm.
And because they are unaware of the correct procedure, the skills of divorce, the art of divorce, we are not talking about enjoying the divorce, but we are talking about certain steps to be followed in order to avoid divorce or minimize the possibility of divorce or minimize the consequences of divorce. So these are skills, and that's why I prefer to call it the art of divorce, because you know how to do it. You must know how to do it in order to do it properly. And once you do divorce properly, first of all, you will minimize its possibility. Or first of all, as we said, you will avoid it. The second possibility is you will minimize it. If you cannot avoid it completely, but you will minimize it. And the third issue is any divorce taking place have many ill effects. So we would like to minimize those ill effects. And as we said, the divorce problem or marriage breakdown is a huge problem in the Muslim world, in the Muslim community, whether in the UK. I can tell you, for example, from my involvement in the Islamic Sharia Council in the UK for a number of years, where we deal with mainly with divorce cases, khula cases, and all types of divorce or marriage separation or marriage dissolution, that I can estimate that the ratio of divorce is 40% within the Muslim community. This is the minimum that I can, you can estimate.
Yes.
It is an estimation. And maybe you know that in some Muslim countries, I'm a bit careful here in quoting certain Muslim countries, but I'm sure everyone knows about it. Like in one of the Gulf countries, they said that the divorce rate is almost 50%.
Yes.
In another Gulf country, Muslim country, is 30%. Now, within Western countries, within Western non-Muslim people, the divorce rate is too high. But we cannot rely on the statistics that talk about divorce rate among non-Muslims.
Yes.
Why? Because they don't get married in the first place.
Yes. So it's like, it's not the breaking up of a marriage, the breaking up of a relationship. Yes.
And they don't care much about the break of just relationship, boyfriend, girlfriend, as they were living as just friends.
Actually, the thought of you mentioning that the rate of divorce, and you've been giving us some statistics there. I mean, just before I came to the program, I was just browsing the internet to understand why because I told you I was a bit held back. Why are we discussing about divorce? Why not the art of saving the marriage? But when I looked into the topic and I was browsing through the internet, some of the Muslim countries were even mentioned in New York Times. The West it's so attractive. It's something that is coming so clear to the public that even divorce in the Arab world and the Muslim world is something on the increase. For example, one of the countries I've read, a divorce happened in every 6 minutes.
Exactly.
Right, and they said in one of the Muslim countries, the amount of divorced women is about 3.5 million. And even I went into detail into that country, and I found that in one of the cities, that the person who's responsible for writing, they call him the ma'zoon, for writing one of these contracts, he said that every contract of marriage he wrote 2 divorce.
Subhanallah. He wrote 2 divorce contracts.
Yes, but
it is a huge problem.
Yeah. If you can just clarify back, I mean, the viewers are still held back here. Why are we not talking about the art of saving the marriage?
This is art of saving marriage. See, many people talking about art of saving marriage, and I'm sure that there are many programs about how to save marriage. But see, disputes between the couples is inevitable. So when the dispute takes place, or when a dispute takes place, so how can we avoid the divorce? We need to know the divorce process. And Allah Jalla wa Ala mentioned the divorce process in details in the Quran. And the Prophet ﷺ in a number of hadith spoke about divorce. So the details were given to us for wisdom, And the point is, if the dispute is taking place between the husband and wife, in many cases the husband just wants to end this marriage and he doesn't follow the proper procedure, and most likely he will divorce his wife and he will regret. And we came across so many cases where the husband is divorcing his wife or has divorced his wife and he is regretting, both of them are regretting. And in fact, they started to commit so many sins in order to try to reconcile together. So, knowing the process itself will help the person without a shadow of a doubt, and we will understand this more even when we explain the process. Understanding the process will help the person without a shadow of a doubt to either avoid it or to minimize its consequences.
Okay, as you said, we're going to discuss the process in the latter series, inshallah. But can divorce have a positive effect on the community? Divorce in itself, why?
First of all, before talking about the positive effects of divorce, let us talk about the negative effects of marriage breakdown.
Okay.
Those effects, from a social perspective, they have mainly 2 angles. From a social perspective and from a religious perspective. From a social perspective, the emotional breakdown that both spouses go through once they have the divorce is so immense that in many cases it is the end of the life of both of them. And we have so many cases, whether in the West or maybe in some Muslim countries, where both of them committed suicide, or one of them committed suicide because of the marriage breakdown.
Okay.
This is one thing.
Okay, so actually the marriage breakdown is what leads to divorce, or just
it is the one form. Divorce is one form of marriage breakdown.
Okay.
Divorce is one form, and it is, you can say, it is the most common Islamic way of ending marriage or marriage breakdown. So the social ill effects on both parties are huge. We can talk about those social effects forever, but I want to draw the attention of so many brothers and sisters that many successful people yeah, whether brothers or sisters, they became demotivated and they became failing people because of what? Because of the failure in their matrimonial life.
Subhanallah. Subhanallah.
Another important effect is that, when two couples get married, in fact, the marriage, you can say, is taking place between the husband's family and the wife's family.
Yes.
So
yes.
two families are merging. Once the divorce takes place, then the two families, the in-laws, will start having disputes and fight.
Yes.
And we found, and there are many stories in the history and even these days, where disputes and fights took place between families just because what? Because the husband divorced his wife or the matrimonial relationship were unsuccessful.
Yes. Yeah.
So we are not talking, and we haven't been talking about the effects of marriage dissolution, marriage breakdown on the children.
Yes.
Which is the biggest and the huge problem. Why? Because, see, the home and the father and mother, the family life is the foundation upon which any society is built on. If that foundation is not there, believe me, the whole society will collapse. And Fukuyama and even many thinkers, when they wrote about the end of the Western civilization, or when they pointed about the end of Western civilization, they said that one of the biggest problems of the Western civilization is marriage breakdown.
Yes.
And unfortunately, we in the Muslim community, we are following that. Whether in the West or in Muslim countries, we are following the Western lifestyle, and that's why we have a huge problem in terms of marriage divorce, marriage breakdown.
Okay, so we'll continue on this point, inshallah. We'll take a short break here on the art of divorce, and we'll be back right after this.
Don't forget, paradise lies at the feet of your mother.
Huda TV is launching a new website for you, your family and friends. Everyone. A new look, top-level designs and better technology. You will be able to ping Huda TV's new website and read all our articles, surf our video archives, chat live on Huda's forum, vote, support our programs, and give us your suggestions or criticisms. We welcome your thoughts. We strive to please all our viewers worldwide. Huda, a light in every home.
Forget, paradise lies at the feet of your mother.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back. You're watching The Art of Divorce. We're still talking to Sheikh Haytham Al-Haddad. Just before we went to the break, you were mentioning two important points, that when the marriage is broken down, it affects families, it affects the children. You said this was the biggest and the hugest effect that can happen when two couples separates.
Yeah, the effects of divorce on children. Because as we said, that the family, the family bond is the foundation for any successful society. And we said even thinkers, big thinkers, when they talk about big issues, strategical issues, and the conflict between the West and the East and the end of the world, Fukuyama and other people, they talk about West that facing a huge problem, and the biggest problem the West is facing is the family breakdown. And because this family breakdown, many of them thought that the West is going to come to an end. Unfortunately, the Muslim countries are following that style. And Muslims living in the West are following also, or many of them are following that style as well. So we need to know the whole issue, the marriage, how to make marriage successful, and how to do divorce, or how to go through the divorce properly. And we will mention, inshallah, in one of the episodes, that because the West, they developed or they invent a new way of separation or divorce, then they went through many other problems because of this, because they are not following the way of Allah Jalla wa Ala. And Allah Jalla wa Ala says in the Quran, أَلَا يَعْلَمُ مَنْ خَلَقَ. He is the best one to legislate. أَلَا يَعْلَمُ مَنْ خَلَقَ. Doesn't the one who created know? So, and that's why we need to understand this process in details. Now, in terms of the ill effects of divorce on children, see, maybe we were talking about this when we were coming to the studio.
Yes.
From my experience in the Islamic Sharia Council, from my reading, even my reading in the PhD and other researches and some other papers, the children, the main factor that influences their life is the harmony between husband and wife.
Has a big effect on the children.
This is, you can say, the biggest
Subhanallah.
effect on children. The harmony between their mothers and fathers. If the children, for example, if the father is maybe harsh against his children, if the mother is harsh against her children, which is wrong, we are not talking about this,
Yes.
but we are talking about the biggest factor that might even take the children away, is when they see, the children, when they see mom and dad always fighting, disputing, they don't find peace at home because mom and dad. And see, many of us, we don't understand the psychology of our children. Our children, even when they become teenagers, when they see mom and dad living in harmony, they will find that the home is a place of peace for them.
Yeah,
so
it's really a home.
Exactly. It is the home. Even if they mess up outside the home, they would like to come to the home to find peace there, because they don't find the dispute between mom and dad.
Yes.
And when they find that mom and dad always are fighting, then they will try to find peace somewhere else. And that is the biggest problem, when the children start to find peace outside their home. Where can they find it?
Yes.
Of course, in the Western societies, we don't live in big families lifestyle where, for example, children may go to their grandparents to find peace, or maybe may go to uncle or live with other relatives. So if they don't find peace in their homes, then they will find it, or they will try to seek for it outside home, and that is the most dangerous thing.
Yes.
The other thing is, from experience again, in the Islamic Sharia Council, some of the unsuccessful marriages, when we interview the, for example, the husband alone, the wife alone, sometimes the husband wants to make the marriage working, but because he learned from his father how to deal with his mother, or his father went through marriage breakdown, so it is easy for the child to go through that, or to simulate his father unknowingly,
Yes.
unintentionally.
Yes.
Same thing with the wife. In many cases, she says, well, to be honest with you, I haven't seen my mother dealing with my father like this. When we tell her this is wrong way to deal with your husband, she said, I haven't seen my mother.
Yes.
In fact, my mother never lived in harmony with my father.
Subhanallah.
So we should look at it, and this is one of the skills that we need to learn. We should look at it like this. If we ruin our life, we are not ruining our lives as couples, as husband and wife, but we are ruining the life of our children. Not only the life of our children when they are children, but we are influencing their life when they grow up.
Subhanallah.
So it will carry on
until
maybe something happens, and the couples, they say, no, enough is enough. We need to live in harmony.
Yes. So you mentioned some of the social effects that marriage and divorce can have. What about the religious effects that you mentioned?
See, because of those, you can say, social effects or ill effects, Sharia dislike divorce. And this proves that Sharia goes in harmony of the nature of human beings as Allah Jalla wa Ala created them, as the fitrah. And that's why we all know the hadith. It is a weak hadith when the Prophet ﷺ said, أَبْغَضُ الْحَلَالِ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ طَلَاقٍ. It is a weak hadith anyway, but the meaning of it is correct. The most disliked halal in the sight of Allah Jalla wa Ala is what? Is talaq. And that's why we see the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, a very well-known hadith, hadith Jabir in Sahih Muslim. When the Prophet ﷺ said that the shaitan, the big shaitan, or you can say the chief of shayateen, he puts his throat on the water or on the sea. And he sends the shayateen to make corruption, to cause corruption and fasad and evil things among people.
Yeah.
He said, فَأَدْنَاهُمْ, the Prophet ﷺ said, فَأَدْنَاهُمْ مِنْهُ مَنْزِلَةً أَكْثَرُهُمْ مِنْهُ فَسَادًا, or أَكْثَرُهُمْ إِفْسَادًا. The dearest shaitan to the big shaitan is what? The one who caused the most corruption and fasad and evil things.
Yes.
So let us see what is the most evil, or what is the most successful shaitan who caused the biggest ill effects or evil things. So the shaitan comes to him and he will say, oh, I influenced him to do this sin. He said, no, you did nothing. Then another shaitan comes to him and he say, I didn't leave him until he did so and so. He said nothing. Then another shaitan comes to him and he said, I have left him only after he divorced his wife. He said, you are the dearest shaitan to me.
Subhanallah.
Look at this. You are the dearest shaitan. The big shaitan will tell him that you are the dearest shaitan to me. Why? Because the marriage breakdown is what? The biggest,
Yes.
you can say, sin, or the biggest problem that causes so many other problems that the shaitan will be pleased with it, as we mentioned. See, we mentioned some of them. Because of time constraint, we cannot mention all the ill effects.
Yes, and as you're putting it here now, all the consequences and the ill consequences that happens to divorce, because we're wrapping up the episode as well, why is it that Islam still allowed the couple to divorce?
Because this brings the other hadith, okay? Let us mention the other hadith. When the Prophet ﷺ said that 3 people, their da'wat are not accepted. And do you remember that? Do you imagine that the Prophet ﷺ said one of them is the person who have a very bad wife in terms of character and in terms of akhlaq, but he doesn't divorce her. So this person is among 3 people whom Allah Jalla wa Ala doesn't accept their dua. So that's why in many cases the husband doesn't feel that his wife is the best wife for him, and there are many people who have maybe bad akhlaq, etc. The wife herself might feel that her husband is not the proper husband, so she might seek khula or marriage dissolution through the court. So there are some cases. There are some other cases. For example, the husband and wife, for any reason, they cannot live together. They are totally different, or maybe they totally have different moods, different maybe cultures.
They said they can say the word chemistry.
Maybe chemistry. They cannot live under one roof.
Is this something bad? Is this something bad?
No, we will come to it that it is not something bad, but sometimes the couples cannot deal with it.
Yes.
So they are always fighting. And we came across a number of cases like this. The husband is a good practicing person, the wife is a good practicing sister, but 2 of them, they cannot live under one roof. They cannot tolerate each other for one reason or another. So I advise number of them, okay, bring it to an end. That is not right. In particular, if they don't have children, just bring it to an end. Allah Jalla wa Ala allowed divorce. It is disliked, but Allah Jalla wa Ala allowed it. So just do it and finish your life. Finish your matrimonial life. Another thing is that in some cases, for medical reasons, the husband cannot function properly with his wife in terms of the matrimonial relationship. Or the wife cannot maybe perform well with her husband. So in that cases, the matrimonial life can or must come to an end. In certain cases, must come to an end. Another reason is that in some cases, we came across very few cases where they want children, but they are unable to produce children together. Subhanallah al-Azim.
Yeah, subhanallah.
This is one of miracles, Allahu Alam. And we said to them, Subhanallah, just get divorced. End your life. It is not the end of the world. So end your life. And then maybe you can get married to another man and you can get married to another wife. So that might be a reason. Another reason is some brothers maybe, or some brothers, they were convicted of a crime, etc., and they are staying in the jail for a number of years. Now, what will happen to the wife? Shall we just leave her suffering because of this? Then we approach the husband and we tell him, divorce her. On a goodwill, divorce her, because she has to continue in her life, and you can continue. That is maybe not fair for both of you to stay together while the woman or the wife is suffering. So that might be another reason as well. We have the hadith of Salama radiallahu ta'ala anha, and hadith when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam approached her for marriage, and she said to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that she is an old woman and she had ghayra. So she might be afraid that she might not fulfill the rights of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, okay, as for the age, I am not worried much about the age. As for ghayra, Allah Jalla wa Ala will remove the ghayra. My point here, taken from this hadith, is that sometimes a woman cannot handle a situation. Yeah? Then, in that case, we say, okay, khalas. She cannot handle that situation. You can just divorce her. And because of this, we have seen number of divorce cases taking place between the Sahaba. It is not the end of the world. It is not the end of the world. And that's why Sharia described the process of divorce in details in the Quran.
Sheikh Haytham, is getting more interesting, but unfortunately we're out of time today. Inshallah, in the next episode, we'll continue from the point where you left off. Jazakallah khair for being with us today.
Jazakallahu khairan.
Okay, that wraps it up for today. That's Sheikh Haytham Al-Haddad all the way from the UK. And join us for the next episode of The Art of Divorce. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Woman's status in Islam, we should never neglect. They are favored and deserve their respect. They can pray at the mosque or even at home. They may marry or divorce, it's a choice of their own. A woman after marriage becomes a wife. For 9 long months she carries a new life. Islam legislates equality, my sisters and brothers. Don't forget paradise lies at the feet of your mothers. Righteous women can lead a happily married life. The best men are those who are best to their wives.